Welcome back, everyone. So continuing on with some educational and business information here. One of the things I had discussed in a previous video is my hatred for QuickBooks. Don't get me wrong, it's a wonderful piece of software to have, and if you need it, use it. I just think it is greatly overpriced for the service that they provide. It does, again, like I said, if you have a retail business, they have a point of sale service, which might be what you need. If you have a car dealership, they have a car dealership division. That's what you can use it for. Diesel mechanics autos, they have it all customized, and it's really simple to use. I just don't like it. I think it's greatly overpriced. But again, going back to what I was saying, when you're number one, you can demand those prices. For the rest of us who are starting off, or you just need a basic accounting software, I suggest WaveApps, I'm sorry. And you can go there to waveapp.com. This is their website. You sign in. I'm already signed in, but you create an account with them. Once you have an account created with them, you start your first business. You can have multiple businesses, and it'll also keep track of your personal stuff too. But you create a business, and it will want you to set it up. By default, they want you to do basic stuff first. I find that this is not exactly the best way to start. First thing you want to do is obviously set up your chart of accounts, which is in the accounting and chart of accounts. And they will provide you some basics. Generally leave those here, although cash on hand, some people call it petty cash. You can rename it however you want to do it. But this is cash in the cash drawer. If you wanted to add a new account, obviously you can add new accounts. And so we're going to add one. We're going to call it other short-term assets. And the reason why this is you have long-term assets such as equipment that lasts years. For things that are changing on a daily basis, this would be your checkbook. So other other types, and we're going to call this your checking account. It's in US dollars. My recommendation, do not put an ID in there. Waves has never been breached that I am aware of. Don't put it in there. And in fact, when you create your account, if you put a simple password in, go back and change it and put a very complex password in there, because you will have banking account information in here and credit card information in here. Make it strong, secure, complex, probably 12 to 16 characters long. Numbers, letters, special characters, make it complex, because you will have personal information in here and you'll want to secure that. So description, obviously the description in the account name is there, and you save it, and it will put this in here somewhere. Let's refresh it and see. It's probably under, yep, there it is, other short-term assets. Long-term assets, you probably have equipment. Some people just call it assets, but you have equipment. This is going to be your photocopier. This is your vehicles. Your photocopier, if you have a big photocopier. And stuff like this. This is where that account goes. And long-term assets get depreciated, so this is why you want that there. And again, that will show up there. Vendor prepayments and credit cards, if you have to make a security deposit. And usually when you're first starting off, yes, you will have security deposits for everything. So you could put this in here, and this shows up as an asset. And this is security deposits. This would be your rent deposit. This would be your utility deposit, so on and so forth. The idea with a deposit is you hopefully get it back. So we'll throw in some deposit there. Unrealized gains on foreign transactions. If you're doing international transactions, please consult an accountant on how to handle that. Depreciation and amortization, obviously kind of important. It's a counter asset account, and so you want to do amortization and depreciation. There are two accounts when you're depreciating items. You have depreciation expense, so you will have to add that to your expense account, and the amortization to your assets or equipment. So this is depreciated equipment. And again, consult your accountant on how to do this. Depreciation on assets, because this is depreciated equipment. This is, and the government's really good at allowing you to depreciate your equipment over multiple years. So you also want to have that. Plus, it kind of gives you a rough estimate of what the value of your assets are. You'll see your assets. You always put your assets in at what you bought it for. So if you bought a vehicle for $15,000, obviously next year it's not going to be worth $15,000. So this is where you can do that. And if you wanted to separate your depreciations into different equipment, you can do that here. Inventory, if you have inventory, you can have an inventory account. Again, property and equipment and so on and so forth. This is where that goes. I also, personally myself, I put it under long-term assets, but you can put it up here in the property, plant, and equipment. Money in transit, you don't have to worry about that. For the most part, almost everything, it takes a couple of days to complete. Again, consult your accountant on if you need that account or not. It's there if you need it. Liabilities and credit cards. Obviously, if you're looking through here, there's some other options there. Short terms, long terms. If you have a car loan, this is where you're going to put your long-term assets. Payroll asset or payrolls go in here also, I think. Due from payroll, there it is. Sales tax goes in here. Expected payments to vendors. This would be if you have a long-term agreement with vendors for supplies, and it's a reoccurring. Obviously, it goes in there. Loans, again, goes back to your line of credit. We have a line of credit for our business, thank goodness. So that's where that goes. Credit cards, not a bad idea to have, but kind of hard to get a business credit card when you're first starting off. Income. Sales by default, it's just there, but you can rename it to services, consulting fees, whatever you want to call it. If you need to add different streams, like we do, we have services, we have a multitude of sales. We sell ink and toners for our contract clients, and of course we have pieces and parts that we use to fix computers, so we have those in there. Discounts, if you offer discounts to your clients, and this is going to be either a part of your billing, or you just a one-off discount, that's where you go put it in there. Again, consult your accountant regarding this. Uncategorized income. If you charge interest on late invoices, that's where this uncategorized go into, because it actually will be an income, but it is not direct income. It's a passive income, and so again, consult your accountant, but that's probably where that's going to go. And of course, gains from foreign currency exchange. Expenses. These are by default all of your expenses that we have. Bank service charges is your monthly banking fee. This is also, we also utilize it for credit card processing, but they have their own, I think it's called a merchant account fee. But these are the ones that we use. Vehicle maintenance and repair and fuel and utilities. Reminds me, when you get into using your personal vehicle for business expenses, again, consult your accountant for the best strategy for you. If you have a new vehicle, well, new to the business vehicle, let me explain this. If it is more personal than business, you'll probably go mileage. If it is more business than personal, you'll probably want to go actual expense. Again, consult your accountant just to double check, but that's how we use it. If you go actual expenses, then oil changes, tires, light bulbs, whatever, go under repairs and expenses, and then you can write off your fuel. If you go with mileage, you can't do that. You write off the mileage. Utilities, obviously, you know what that is. Travel expenses, if you have to toll roads, hotels, and stuff like that, telephones, repairs and maintenance to the property, rent expenses, professional fees is people like me, people like your accountant. Well, you have an accountant fee up here, I think. Yes, account fees. Advertising and promotion, and this is where your marketing expenses go into. We have these categories. Your categories are going to be different. So when we buy hardware for inventory, this is where it goes. If hosting, we used to pay for our website to be hosted somewhere else. We now do self-hosting, so we no longer use this one. Your internet, because the internet is expensive, we put our own internet in there. Software, when we buy software, that's where we go. Depreciation expense. Insurance, yes, you can write your insurance off. Again, if you're working from home, you will need to separate the business portion from your homeowner's insurance or renter's insurance. Make sure you adjust for that, and when you record that transaction, you'll have to do that, and your accountant will be able to better help you with that. Interest, if you have a loan, whether it be personal, unsecured, whatever, so on and so forth. Equity. This is where Waves is a little bit different than QuickBooks. QuickBooks will go into all the different types of equities, whether it be stocks and shares, whether it be partnerships, and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, Waves doesn't really go into a whole lot of, that's all you get. 2 accounts: business owners, concentrations, and drawing, and of course retained profits. So it's a little lacking in that regard. So again, your accountant will be able to help you with this, but it's really designed for the self-employed or small business where you only have 1 or 2 people. When it comes to this part of us, we actually have a spreadsheet that helps split this out for us. That's just how we do it. Again, your accountant will be able to better help you with this, but this is your chart of accounts as a whole. That should be the very first thing you need to set up. And if you don't know how to set it up, or you don't know what accounts to use, like I said, the first person you're probably going to contact is your accountant. Now, if your accountant is going to charge you and nickel and dime you to death every time you ask them a question and ask them to do something, then, consult some other people and friends and people who have been in business, might be able to assist you too. Buy me a pizza or whatever, I can do this. So, but yeah, this is nice to have. The other thing that's nice to have too is when you do get this set up, let me find it here. Let me go under settings. Yep, there it is. So Waves will allow you to have multiple people who can access your account, and this is going to be really good, especially for end of year. Like I said, your accountant can help you up, so you want to put your accountant as an editor, and so you can create a user for them. You can send it to them an email. And they get the email. If they accept it, then they create an account, and then they can access your books. And this is all the stuff that they will be able to access under as an editor. Really good for, like I said, for having accountants. When you're first starting off, you really need an accountant or someone who is knowledgeable in accounting to review your books often and frequently, usually for the first year, just to make sure you're getting it right, because you want to have this stuff in place. IRS has a habit of, not always, but it seems most likely that those who are self-employed, small business owners, they tend to harp on them a lot. So don't be surprised if you get an audit. I would think the first audit we had was my second year in business. I got an audit. It was really? My second year in business, if you looked at one of the videos, I only made $8,000 that year. And you're going to audit me for $8,000. So yeah, you definitely want to keep your books up to date, current, because like I said, they can come in and audit you at any time. And sometimes they don't give you warning. In my case, I got a registered letter saying, hey, we're auditing you. And at that time I was self-employed, so it was a personal audit. But because I was self-employed, that's what triggered it, was being self-employed. Like I said, your first 3 to 5 years of being in business, If you get audited, do not be surprised, but this is what you have an accountant for, and this is why you have them going through your books to make sure you've got everything in the right order. It's a necessary evil of business. Once you get past that part there, if short of something being way out of whack from one year to the other, the IRS generally leaves you alone as long as you're paying your taxes on time, paying what you're supposed to according to your books. And like I said, there's not like you're going from, you made $20,000 this year, now you made $100. The IRS is going to say, let's go take a look and see why that is. So as long as you're generally increasing, but you're not making big, large, gigantic jumps to trigger an audit, you're okay. And again, your accountant is going to be your best defense in that. So have them utilize this often for you to customize or to prevent that. If you get an audit, just do it. Trust me, and it will be a learning experience. So anyways, once you get all your books set up and you've got your accountant online here, if you need to add other users, such if you have a salesperson, you can give them access to this also, and you can limit their access to what they can do. The next thing after that is, I would say, this is when you get into your invoice customization. You upload your logo if you have one. You choose a template that works best for you. You choose your colors. Default terms of payment, obviously, due upon receipt, 15, 30 days. These are standards. I just leave it on due upon receipt, but whatever you want to call it, or however you want to do it. There is no end of month option, unfortunately. It used to be a common practice years and years, okay, maybe decades ago, that it was due at the end of the month. There is no end of month option. Sorry. Invoice is usually the default name, but you can title it anything you want. Subtitling, footers, details, and notes. Reminders. I personally don't use it, but you can set this up that when an invoice is generated, if it's not paid in 3 days, 7 days, and 14 days, it will send a reminder automatically to your customers or clients saying, hey, pay me. Estimates, yes, you do have estimate capabilities in here. Again, same thing. You set it up. And then invoice columns, items, units, price, and amount. That's pretty basic for what you're using it for. If you are doing it as a point of sale service, it might be something slightly different, but that's what it's there for. You can hide things if you really needed to, like if you don't want to have the there is, when you select your items, you select your category, as we was talking about in sales. So you can actually do it that way too. Payments. All right, so here's where we get into the fun part. This is the reason why you want to use a program like this, or QuickBooks. QuickBooks will let you do it too. Credit card processing. Like I said, Waves is free, but they do have two places where they charge you a fee: credit card processing and payroll. That's how you get it free. As you can see, it's 2.9% plus 30% or 30 cents. You can do bank transfers, so they don't have to pay with a credit card. They can put in their checkbook information and pay it that way. This takes longer. It takes about a week for a check to clear, where a credit card will drop into your account in 2 to 3 days. And that's the reason why the rate is lower. They do have instant payout. So if someone pays you by a credit card, you can actually click a button and pay me now. You put in your bank debit card and they reverse it through your debit card. And I think that is an additional 1% fee. So if you need the money now, it's there, but it's going to be a little spendy. So, but this is a great thing to have right off the bat. And this way you don't have to buy credit card machines, and you don't have to rent the machine or buy it, and you don't have the monthly fees with a credit card machine and stuff like that. It is traditional with a credit card system. This is automatically built in. You just have to put your bank account information in so they know where to send your money. Again, this goes back to why you have a very hard, complex password to your account, because that information has to be put in there. Purchases. You can upload via email or capture details automatically. Upload via email, never really used it. Capture details automatically. This is under integrations, and this is where you can see you can tie in PayPal if you're using PayPal, and some of the other programs you're going to use here. But there is a way of, and you can actually tie your bank in. Like if you use your business debit card, it will pull that information off of your bank account and put it in the appropriate spots as long as you have it programmed to do that. I don't do that. I try to keep them as separate as possible. Just, I'm a control freak, sorry. So, but I mean, some of the other things that are in here that is nice, like I said, Google Sheets. I've already showed you how to use the Google Sheets. It's nice to do this, especially for creating those financials. If you have multiple partners where you have to worry about a partnership, that's where I do it through. Some of the other things that are in here, you know, if you have other payment options, is that Square? Yes, that's Square. Square is like PayPal. Square is more designed for retail stores, coffee shops, stuff like that, where you need a point of sale type terminal. So Square is a good option if you want to go that way. Their fee is a little bit cheaper than the credit card fee through Waves. But like I said, personal preference, I try and keep it as simple as possible myself. Stripe is another one of those companies like that too, like Square and like PayPal, where you can integrate them in. Appointments and scheduling, it really depends on if you need that capability, but it's there. Customer relations management, again, if you need that. Email marketing, it's there. Email marketing, I'm not familiar with these particular companies. Constant Contact is one that I do know of, and so you use them. Business management, so on and so forth. There's a whole lot you can add to your Waves account for managing your business. Most of this stuff I don't use, but I also learned accounting the old-fashioned manual way. I didn't learn the electronic stuff until after halfway through my college. So I still do a lot of it manually because that's just how it was taught. If you have never been taught to do that, then maybe these other programs might be best for you. Again, consult an accountant, other people in the business world, ask them. Like I said, the CRM integration, I've got clients who use it. Not any of these particular ones, although HubSpot, I've got one client I think that does use it. It's really, really nice to basically, the best way to keep making money is to constantly be in your client's face, but you don't want to be over aggressive about it. So like the once a week, once every couple of days email, hey, do you need help? Do you need service? That's what those are for. So some of the things, once you get this set up and you you go in and you create your first invoice. Excuse me. This is generally, and this is where your accounts receivable will also show up first too. So it'll tell you who still owes you how much money, and how old it is, and so on and so forth. So your accounts receivable is right in here also. Creating an invoice is really, really simple. You add a customer, put your invoice number in. By default, it starts with 1. You can set it to anything you want. Personally, we use the year followed by 10 digits after that. That way, when, say, if there's an issue about an invoice that was last year and I look at the invoice number, I know just by looking at the invoice number, oh, that was an invoice from last year. However you want to do your invoice numbers, though, it's up to you, but that's just what it is. Like I said, you put your customer information in, payment dates. By default, I have mine set on receipt, but you can change it, and this is where you can manually change it by the day. So, like I said, there is no default end of month, but you can manually set end of month. Here, this is where you get into your details of what you're selling. I don't think anything is in here at this particular point, but yeah, you can type in services and consulting, and I charge $65 an hour for that. And then you can, if you needed to add more, you could. Notes, make sure your Yep, it's going into sales. Just wanted to make sure. So, there's your footer. If you have a footer, it's automatically there. If not, you can put notes in here. Require your customer to sign off on your terms of agreement by paying with a credit card. This is kind of important nowadays, especially when you're starting off. This is for credit card charge dispute. Definitely want to have them sign it. We don't use it because all of our customers are pretty much established clients. But if you're starting off new, you might want to have them sign this so they understand that, hey, we are charging you a credit card fee through a third party. It's just disclosure and transparency. But anyways, you go into, let me create a customer. We'll call it me. And we're going to put me in here so you can see how this works. Yep. And email is going to be very important because most everything is done by email on your in your accounting software. So make sure you have an email address. You can physically print them off and mail them. I do that once a month for quite a few clients. But email is really, really important. If you have clients that are not prone to looking at their email, there is a way of doing it through social media and Facebook and so on and so forth. This is a lot easier. So anyways, you put that information in. The nice thing about this is once you start typing in an address, it is tied into the Google system or Google Maps. So once you start typing it in, if you see the address pop up, boom, there it is. The thing with Clyde and Green Springs is the towns are so close together that you can actually have and you might see this in the United States, you might have a Clyde zip code with the Green Springs address. So you just go in and manually adjust it. If your shipping address is different than your billing address, this is where you can change that. I think I have one client that's way. If you really want to know more details, like if they have an account number, if they have a phone number or a mobile, there's your fax, there's toll-free websites, internal notes, great client, stuff like that. So anyways, you save that. It will show up here. If you don't have information in here as a client, when you go to click save and continue, it will give you an error message. So it'll have you review it. If it looks good, then you approve it. It's going to ask you, do you wish to send the email invoice? You click yes, and of course your scheduling is here if you want to do the reminders. Kind of important, especially nowadays when cash is kind of like, I need it now. So, yep, you would go ahead and send it out. Attach a PDF, please. I didn't do this in the beginning when I first started. I wasn't paying attention. I thought it was an automatic thing. Always attach the PDF to it. This way, when they get it in their email, they can download it, print it off, and put it in their books. Messages, if you want to put a personalized message in here, you can. If you need to send a copy to yourself, you can do that also. But that's what you do it, and you click send, and it goes on about its merry way. This is kind of new. Track your invoices on the go. This will be important if you're a field tech. If you're out in the field, you can get an app for your phone. It's called Invoicing by Waves. And so, again, people sometimes don't like to pay for through the internet for the credit cards, so you can actually go onto your phone and put in their credit card information and pay it that way in person. So it's just one of those things that it really, really helps. So if you don't want it now, you can click those. So this is, what it looked like in general, and you can resend it if you had to. If you needed to do edits after the fact, you can. If you're ready to move on to your next one, you can do that. More actions, you can duplicate it, you can make it reoccurring. This is kind of important for those people who have reoccurring invoices. That's nice. This is get that shareable link. Remember how I was saying that you can share it across Facebook and other things. It'll give you a customized link to that invoice, and then you can send it off to that client via messenger or text message or whatever. Print, that's where you can print the invoice off, and that's exactly how it looks when you print it off, and that's exactly how it looks when they receive the PDF on it. So this goes through, and if you're happy with it, now let's go back over to dashboard. now that we have some information in here, the dashboard will change. Hopefully. It did not. But that's okay. What ends up happening on your dashboard is you start getting your cash flow reports and your other things. Let's see if we can force it to generate. Yep. Let's go. Yep, we've done that. Yep, we've already done that. Wonder if there is a way of skipping this. But anyways, like I said, eventually what happens with your dashboard is, let me see if I can trigger over to the Monroeville store since it's closed. This is what your dashboard will look like. Once you get some information in there, you can get your cash flow reports, your profit and losses for the month, up to 2 years, people who owe you, your net income, and so on and so forth. So, excuse me. So that's what your dashboard will eventually look like once you start getting invoices in and things going. In the beginning, though, you're probably going to be stuck with this for a couple of days. You just can't do anything about it. Yeah, here's connecting to your bank, and that's where you want to do your adding your bank information, your routing account, and bank account, so when people pay you with a credit card, they know where to send the money to. Adding transactions manually, this is your general journal. This is going to be kind of important for your end of month and end of year adjustments. But for day-to-day operations, this is going to be more of your accountant, unless you know what to do with a general transaction. This is going to be generally where your accountant will make changes to your accounts. And let's see. Say goodbye to fees. Yep, there we go. And there's your dashboard. I knew, just had to go through the steps. So with that, there's your cash flow, your profit and losses. Of course, we've only got one invoice in here, so it's $65, and we have no expenses recorded at the moment. That's why it's there. People who owe you, you see coming due $65. There's your profit and losses, and this little graph will show up eventually too. So again, there is a more cost-effective way to doing this than QuickBooks. With that, like I said, you've got purchases. This is where you pay your bills. Bad thing about this program, I wish it could do it, but in this day and age, who does this anymore? You cannot write checks with Waves. It's not there. So if you have a checkbook, you'll have to do it manually and then record it here. QuickBooks will let you write a check. Something to remember, though, is this is really easy to use. Create a bill. This is not for payroll. Vendor works just like your customers, and then you put in the information, add a vendor. I just put me. Date you received it is probably like today, date it's due, end of month, or whenever it's due. Bill number would be what's, on your bill notes. And we'll call this, let's say this is the electric bill category, sorry. So this would be utilities for the electric bill. Description, however you want to describe it to you, but the more detailed you are, the better it is for an audit. So this is September's electric bill. One will be your general default, and then say your electric is $200. If there is tax and you want to record the tax information, you can. However, again, this goes back to if the tax is there. This originally wasn't a Canadian company, so if you pay taxes to someone else and you collect taxes, you offset them to pay the difference. In America, we don't do it that way. So just put the dollar amount in and then you save it. It says it was successfully created. It shows up here, and then when you record your payment, obviously we're paying by check and we're taking it out of the checking account. Makes sense, right? Notes, memos, and then you save it, marks it as paid. Really, really simple. And then Accounting, we've already kind of looked through this for transactions and reconciliation, chart accounts. Banking is, connecting your bank account. Reports. This is where your monthly reports are. Profit and loss. As you can see, we're $135 in the hole. Why? Because we've only made $65, but we paid a $200 electric bill. This is the summary. Details shows you a lot more information. The more transactions you have, the deeper this gets. So just, again, things to know. And your accountant will come back in. Like I said, your first year, you really ought to have your accountant, if not once a month, once a quarter, go through your books. Just make sure you're on track, recording things properly, so on and so forth, because you don't want to get into any bad habits, because you make a decision to do something and you record it in one way, and then, you might have another transaction a couple weeks ago, and, so on and so forth, and you record it another way. This is where your accountant doing a basic audit will help to guide you in the right way. You always want to do everything the right way. Trust me. It will save you a lot of time, effort, especially when you come down to an audit. So profit and loss, like I said, you can print those out to a PDF, and then you can print them off. CSV is for Excel or Google Sheets, so you can do it that way. You can also change a period, for month to month. Accrual, if you're doing cash basis, again, your accountant would be able to tell you better on how cash versus accrual, on how that works. So let's go back to here. Say you get a check in the mail from your client. You can charge it to their card. Like I said, if they take you over the phone, or you can record your payments manually. Again, they sent you a check in the mail, and it's going to go into... Ooh, it didn't tie in, but create an account. We don't want to create an account, but you record it into your checking account. Again, just an oversight on my side, but you put it into your checking account, and then you click OK or submit, and the money is recorded in your account, and then you can send a receipt. Receipts are nice. Covers your butt, and it's an acknowledgement, especially if occasionally I get this happen where a customer will pay me in advance for an invoice that's not scheduled for another week. So again, going back to Google Keep, I'll put a little notation on here, who the customer was, how much they paid, when they paid it. So when I do post their invoice payment that's not generated till later in the month, I can actually post the date of the check, because you can do that, to the date I actually received it. Then, because I have it recorded in Keep, I know where it's at. So anyways, this is Waves. It's what we use. It is free, with the exception of credit card processing, Payroll. There are other programs out there if you wanted to consider them. One of them is Patriot Software. I believe that's what it was. Yes, Patriot Software. This is a payroll company, a software, accounting software. Again, very much to Waves, except for they do some other things like time and attendance. But they are affiliated with the Wounded Warrior Project. So a part of their proceeds goes to that fund. And they hire a lot of vets, which is a good company. So if you want to support that cause, again, I've never used the software because I didn't know about the software until years later after I started using Waves. But it is a good company, one I recommend often to those people. And if you note, it is in Ohio. Thumbs up to Ohio. But like I said, a lot of their money goes to, I don't want to say a lot of their money, a lot of they throw in money to the Wounded Warrior Project. And so it's a nice piece of software to use also. And again, Waves we recommend, Patriot Software we recommend, works very similar to Waves. I did do a crash course on them just to look at them years and years ago when they first started. I can't remember when they started. They started in '86, but the online version started like 5 years ago. Of course, I've already using Waves. But had I had a choice at that time, I would have probably went with these guys because it's a great cause for what they do. So anyways, like I said, if you're in business for yourself or thinking about starting up a business, you need a good accounting software. Waves is what we use. Patriot software obviously go that way too. They make money and it goes to the Wounded Warrior Project. So just like I said, things to learn. But if you're going to be in business, like I said, you need a good accounting software. If you need something more specialized for like inventory control and tracking and so on and so forth, your options are going to be like QuickBooks and Sage and stuff like that, and they're overpriced in my opinion, but when you're number one and number two, you can demand those prices, and they've been around the longest. Now Sage, if you're not familiar with them, they're the old Peachtree software. Sage bought out Peachtree a few years ago and have really redone the software. But QuickBooks, like I said, if you want or need that type of details and control, and like I said, they do have customized accounting software, then go that way. Just remember, I have one client uses it, and their QuickBooks costs them $770 a year, which is absolutely outrageous. And they don't even do payroll through the QuickBooks. They have their own accountant do it. So just remember that. You can get QuickBooks on the cheap sometimes. And if it's just a single person pro desktop, you could probably get it for like $150 on sale. If that's what you need, then go that way. But the nice thing about doing with Waves or Patriot software, it's in the cloud, so you can access it on your phone, on your tablet. Great for trade shows. So if you're off doing, like my wife does crafts, so if she needs to go to a trade show, she can do it that way, and take credit cards. It's nice. So like I said, cloud-based, it's nice because then you don't have to worry about it being on your computer. It's in the cloud. You can access it from anywhere as long as you have your username and password. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. So that's my thoughts and opinions on this. This is what we use. Again, questions, comments, put them in the comment section down below. Like the video if you found it useful. Click that share button, share with all of your friends. Subscribe so you know when the new videos come out. And there is a donation link in there if you would like to donate to the cause. On that note, I'm going to let you all go. You guys have a great day. Talk to you later.